We ready? All right. Good evening, everyone. We will go ahead and call this city council meeting, regular session, February 9th, 2026, to order. Start with roll call.
Councilmember Amara.
Present.
Dowden Calvillo.
Present.
Holmes. Riddell Harris. Here. And Mayor Davis.
Here. Mr. Holmes, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance.
All right, please be seated. We have one proclamation for tonight. Failed me, but do you want? Oh, your kids are here. Yay. Okay. Well, then I'm going to call up my other friends, Audrey and Walter.
You can go stand.
You can stand right by me. You don't have, I mean, you can if you want to be right in the front, but that's up to you. So tonight we are proclaiming Black History Month. And whereas Black History Month is observed annually during the month of February and serves as an important time to honor the history, achievements, and contributions of Black Americans who have helped shape our nation, state, and community. I'm going to have you guys maybe turn around. There you go. It'll be a little less awkward. Whereas Black Americans have made profound contributions in every aspect of society, including education, government, business, science, the arts, military service, and civic leadership, often in the face of systemic injustices and inequality. And whereas the study and celebration of Black history promotes a deeper understanding of our shared past, fosters respect and inclusivity, and encourages continued progress towards equity, justice, and opportunity for all. And whereas recognizing Black History Month provides an opportunity to reflect on the ongoing work needed to address racial disparities and to reaffirm our collective commitment to building a community rooted in dignity, fairness, and mutual respect. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Kelly Davis, Mayor of the City of Auburn, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month and encourage all residents to observe this month by learning about Black history, honoring the accomplishments of Black leaders, past and present, and participating in activities that promote understanding, unity, and inclusion. And I have a couple friends here tonight that each get a copy. So, but I need to sign them. You gotta sign real quick. Go. You guys want to take a picture?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know. I get the cool stuff.
All right, thank you. And if you guys need to slip out, you can, because it only gets more fun from here.
It's a school
Uh,
night too. It's a school night too.
The school. Okay, moving on, adoption of the agenda. This is the time set aside for council members and or the public to ask for removal, postponement, or a change to the listed sequence of an agenda item. The agenda will be approved by consensus of the council. Council, any requests? Nope. Public, any requests? All right. Seeing none, do we? It's good.
I'm good.
Consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one blanket motion with a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless persons request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and separate action. Any items removed will be considered after the motion to approve the consent calendar. Council, any requests? Public, any requests? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call, Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes. Riddell Harris.
Aye.
And Mayor Davis.
Aye. All right, public comment. This is the time provided so that the public may speak to the council on any item not on this agenda. Please make your comments as brief as possible, not to exceed 3 minutes. The council cannot act on items not included on this agenda. Items may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Do we have any public
Madam
comment?
Mayor, I have
Yes.
some public comment.
Oh,
We won again.
yeah.
This is this is the California Water Environment Association Sacramento Area Section Plant of the Year Award. And we also got Collections of the Year Award for our small plant. Our wastewater treatment plant is amazing. Our staff that work that is there is amazing. I got to go on Friday to the award ceremony. They got so tired of us winning that they made it so we can't win every year. So now we win every other year. And I just want to, I know, you know, it's not most glamorous to talk about wastewater treatment plants, but we would not be the great community we are without our wastewater treatment plant and the collection system that we have. So I just want to brag about how wonderful they are and thank all the staff that work there because they do an amazing job, and also to Menjel for leading that team as well. So thank you for indulging me in
great.
that.
Congratulations again.
Mike, any comments, Mike? Do you have any public comment?
Well, I was, yes, I wanted to mention that several of us received letters from the seventh grade at the
St. Joseph's,
St.
right?
Joseph's
Yeah.
school, and basically telling us how happy they were with the work that we're doing, and not with any specific items necessarily, but just in general. So
Great. Yes, thank you to St. Joseph's if you guys are watching.
Yes.
I think we all
I think
received
we
a
did,
beautiful
yeah.
envelope of
Yeah.
artwork and cards, and I know I look forward to that. So thank you for continuing it.
Yeah. I got some great drawings, and I had some of the kids actually thanked me for my 7 years. I mean, just, it was,
Research.
yes, is that mayor 3 times? So it always brings a little tear to my eye. So I really appreciate it. It's sweet. So I'll be thanking them as well. So thanks for reminding us about that, Councilman Holmes.
Councilmember Mara, any comments?
Thank you to St. Joseph's, and no, I'm ready.
Councilmember Dowden Calvillo.
No, I have nothing further. I have committee reports I'll give
Yeah.
later.
Okay, perfect. I'll just say a thank you to the Hook and Ladder for having us at their 174th roll call on Friday. Impressive tradition, incredible to partake in it and really see kind of the development of our fire department and this tradition that has just been so longstanding. So thank you, Chief Rogers back there, and Hook and Ladder for having us to that. And then tomorrow evening here in council, in here, we're going to have an economic development town hall to discuss how the city spends money, how we get money, a sales tax, and really try to gather some information from the community on how we can do better, what the city can do better to support businesses and to bring in businesses that, you know, we're missing or fill in some gaps. So if you are available tomorrow, 5:30, right back here, it should be a lively, fun discussion, I promise. And I would love to I would love to have everyone's input, and it'll be online as well. All right. Any public comment from the public? You good? Not the public hearing. Yeah. All right, but here we are, public hearing. So I'm going to start by sharing the steps for the public hearing so everybody knows what to expect and when each person will have a turn to talk. And then we will go back to the top and formally open it and go through the steps. So for the public hearing, we will open it. We will have a presentation by staff. Oh, I took my notes over here. We'll have a presentation by staff. We'll have presentations by the applicant and appellant. Each person will receive 10 minutes. Following each person's presentation, council will have an opportunity to ask questions as well as ask staff for any feedback. And then the applicants and repellent will have an opportunity for rebuttal, which will be brief 3 minutes, followed by public testimony. So we will have anyone from the public come up also for 3 minutes to share your comments. We'll close the hearing. The council will have comments and questions, followed by our action. All right, so we will open this public hearing to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision approving a short-term rental permit for 180 Greenfield Avenue. And we'll start with a presentation by staff.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Tia Klump, your planning director. Before you tonight is a public hearing to consider an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision approving a short-term rental permit for the property located at 180 Greenfield Avenue. The Planning Commission approved the short-term rental permit in October 21st. An appeal of that decision was timely filed on October 30th, and tonight's hearing is a result of that appeal. This presentation provides a brief overview of the background, the concerns raised, and the actions available to the council. The application for a short-term rental permit was submitted to the Planning Commission on May 20th, 2025. As required by the Auburn Municipal Code, staff reviewed the application for completeness and circulated public notice to all property owners within 100 feet of the subject property. During the public notice period, staff received 3 letters of objection. Those letters raised concerns related to potential impacts on surrounding property values, fire safety, the commercial nature of short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, and parking. Because objections were received, staff was unable to issue that short-term rental permit. The applicant then elected to forward their application to the Planning Commission for consideration. The Planning Commission held a duly noticed public hearing on October 21st. At that hearing, the commission heard testimony from the applicant as well as from members of the public. After considering the full administrative record and the testimony provided, the Planning Commission approved the short-term rental permit. Following that decision, an appeal was filed by an interested party, bringing the matter before the council this evening. Under the Auburn Municipal Code, short-term rental permits are allowed use within the residential zoning district, subject to issuance of the permit in compliance with all applicable operational standards and conditions. The City Council's review of this appeal is considered de novo. The council is not limited to the evidence presented to the Planning Commission and may consider any relevant evidence of testimony presented here at tonight's hearing. After hearing the appeal, the City Council has several options. The council may approve the short-term rental permit, which would have the effect of denying the appeal and affirming the Planning Commission's decision. The council may also approve the permit with additional or modified conditions. Alternatively, the council may deny the permit, which would uphold the appeal and overturn the Planning Commission's approval. Should the council choose that path, staff is requesting the council direct staff to prepare a resolution memorializing this action for the next city council meeting. The council may also remand the matter back to the planning commission with direction. Note that any future planning commission decision may be appealable again to the city council or can continue this item to a later date. Any action taken by the city council must be supported by substantial evidence of record, which includes the application materials, the planning commission staff report, the planning commission resolution, public testimony correspondence, the written appeal, this staff report, and all testimony received tonight. From a fiscal standpoint, approval of a short-term rental permit would allow the property to generate TOT revenue for the city. Denial of the permit would eliminate that potential revenue source. The appeal processing fee has been paid and is included in the current planning department budget. This does conclude staff's presentation. The applicant is here for the short-term rental permit, the appellant, and then I'm sure public testimony as well, as Planning Commissioner Chair Steve Hyatt is in the audience as well.
Thank you very much. Before we move on, this is an opportunity if any council members need to disclose an ex parte communication or any discussions that happened outside of our meeting.
I do. So yes, I had an ex parte communication with the applicant for the short-term rental, Doug Houston. I met and I listened to evidence, which I believe is part of the record. And I also, in passing, had ex parte communication with the appellant, David Sterling, and I believe some individuals at Flower Garden, and very brief.
I also have an ex parte communication with Doug Houston. We met on several items and we just briefly discussed the project as well.
All right, anyone down here? No. All right, I also have ex parte communication to disclose. I met with Mr. Houston regarding his application, his rental property and practices.
Yeah, and if I could just add on that, an ex parte communication, for those of you who don't speak Latin, is a communication that happens outside of the hearing. So this is one that's occurred before this evening. There's nothing wrong with ex parte communications. It's part of information gathering that council members do. We just need to note it for the record so that it's part of the evidence here before you this evening. So all council members may proceed.
Thank you so much. Tia, I think we're good. Yeah. All right. Next, we have presentation by the applicant, Mr. Houston.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and honorable council members. Doug Houston. I'm the owner of the property, subject property 180 Greenfield here in Auburn. And for the council's benefit, to diffuse things with my neighbors, because this can be a polarizing issue, I did try to aggregate the folks. I had a convening with the neighbors and to forge some sort of a détente, but nothing short of rejection of the permit was acceptable. So here we are. As the staff report notes, my home is in full compliance with the parameters of your ordinance, the city's ordinance. And it's my understanding there's two principal issues. One is parking. And then the second is that the home, or at least this practice, undermines sort of the residential character of the neighborhood. I don't understand the property value argument, but we'll move on. But before responding, allow me to sort of contextualize the situation. So since operation of this unit, of this Airbnb, I've had roughly about 24 bed nights a year. That's not guests, that's bed nights a year on an annual basis. So the composition of my guests, it's been about 45% have been long-term rentals, so not subject to the provisions of your ordinance. 35% of those guests have been endurance athletes. They've come here for a purpose and a reason. And then 20% are miscellaneous guests. So I frequently block the weekends for my personal use. I reside primarily in Folsom along with my partner, and we're up here on the weekends. And I rarely get room any guests during the weekdays, unless it's long-term and I require a 3-night minimum. So that probably speaks to the notion of why I have so few guests during the course of the year. As a policy in terms of my clientele, I only accept those with established and unblemished rental histories with Airbnb. And through my professional affiliation with endurance athletes, folks probably may or may not know what I do, but I'm a legislative advocate and represent the outdoors. I've established a network of new and returning guests in this space. And I was honored more recently, I housed the PACE group for the Western States, the female winner this year. So that was quite the honor. So in this capacity, interfacing with my guests, I become sort of a surrogate ambassador for the city. And on the issue of parking, I know a dispute remains involving the permissibility of the frontage of my property as illegal parking. I don't know if folks have had a chance to take a look at the aerial map, which clearly delineates 5 spaces, 3 in front, 2 in the driveway, and I also have a 2-car garage. I think the truth of the matter is, and I do have photos if folks are interested, I can accommodate 3 spaces in my driveway, and the garage is functional. I could have 4 spaces. And as a concession, happy to direct folks, instruct my future guests to use the driveway exclusively. There's also complaint or issue registered by the neighbor that it would disrupt sort of the solitude, the quiet of our neighborhood, this practice. And to date, I'm unaware of any disrespectful or disorderly conduct. Per the municipal code, I require that no sound devices are permitted or operated after 7 o'clock. And that there's no outdoor engagement after 9 p.m. as well. Additionally, for those unfamiliar with this neighborhood, it is incredibly eclectic. It's very diverse in makeup and composition and features several apartment buildings within several hundred yards of this property. We have a church, we have a school, we have a lot of long-term rentals, and it perfectly lends itself to short-term rental purposes because of its proximity to the canyon. It's beautiful over there. So I'm grateful to you and city staff for your deliberations on this matter and prepared to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions from council?
I think I heard you right. You said you would not be opposed to a condition that your residents, the short-term renters, not park in front of on the street, but exclusively either in the garage or the driveway?
Correct.
Okay. And the other condition, which is a part of short-term rentals, is that you have to be an hour away, and it sounds like you are.
Happy.
And if there's any issues, you would be able to come up and take care of those. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's the only questions I had right now.
Thank you.
Any question? Okay. Cool. No? Okay. Yep. Mr. Holmes?
Yes, I have a question. Did I hear you say that most of your short-term visitors are for 2 or 3 days, 2 or 3 nights?
So I require a 3-night minimum. So I don't have a carousel of guests coming in and out on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any responses from staff? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Houston. I'll bring up Mr. Sterling.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you concerning the short-term rental permit application. My name is David Sterling. I have lived diagonally across the street from 180 Greenfield for the past 42 years, and I'm speaking for all the residents on Greenfield Avenue adjacent to the applicant. We are a small neighborhood of long-term residents. The short-term rental and the possibility of more will compromise the character and desirability of our neighborhood as a residential community. We are concerned that allowing an undetermined and unregulated number of short-term rentals among our homes serves no apparent need in our neighborhood, solves no apparent problem, and negatively affects our lives. None of us have wanted to have a business as a neighbor, but we have put up with years of illegal parking and trash left unsecured for bears to scatter. The applicant does not reside here, but is seeking this permit to use his house as a business. The applicant's only letter of support comes from a person who is also running a short-term rental business without a permit. The municipal code seeks to minimize effects of short-term rentals in neighborhoods. Approving this application would not do that. As I've detailed in the letter to council, parking is not compliant with the short-term rental code. With 3 bedrooms, the code requires 5 on-site spaces. There are 4, a 2-car garage and a 2-car driveway. The Planning Commission was advised by staff that there is sufficient off-street parking in front of the house. Those parking spaces are not only not on-site as required by the municipal code, they're not even off-street according to state code. Since the Planning Commission hearing, we have realized and brought to the attention of the Planning and Public Works departments, there's also a problem with the steps built into the concrete. An unsuspecting renter driving over that portion of the cemented area would likely cause damage to their vehicle, and such an incident could plausibly cause injury. The cemented area would become a citation trap for illegal parking and a liability issue for the city if naive drivers are invited in by way of short-term rentals. Planning staff also advised the commission that Mr. Houston was in compliance with all provisions of the short-term code, but he has openly been operating without the required permit or license since he purchased the residence in 2017. Although this application could be seen as an effort to comply with that requirement, his actions belie that. He applied for this permit in May and yet continued to rent both in May and then even after the application was denied in June. In October, he informed us that he voluntarily decided not to rent for the months of November and December, showing that he still does not respect legal limitations on his rental activities. This blatant disregard for the municipal code should not go unnoticed. It would be an affront to the code-abiding citizens of Auburn if council votes to approve this application, and we urge you to deny it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have council questions?
Yeah, you indicated there's several issues with prior situations where it was rented out short-term. Did you notify the applicant at the time that there were these issues?
No.
Okay, and is there any reason for that? Just
Comedy. Basically, we try to be good neighbors. This trash scattered by bears has been cleaned up by us neighbors. Didn't really feel that he should be told that his guests were parking against traffic. I was really unfamiliar with the items in the Good Neighbor brochure. It had never come up. He wasn't legally renting, so.
So if hypothetically this was to go through and there was an issue, would you feel okay to contact the applicant? And
I would think that would be the first step.
okay, and then you talked about some sort of. Could you elaborate on the cement danger? I didn't really understand.
I believe you have pictures in the record there somewhere. There are between the driveway and the front entrance to the house, there are some steps built into the concrete. Probably because that portion of the concrete is too steep for easy access, but it is on the public right of way, and where he's suggesting that people park. I mean, at dark and they would not see it. All you see is the edge of the concrete before it drops off.
Okay. And would it make you feel better if there was a condition that there was no street parking?
I believe that's in code already.
Pardon me?
I believe that is in code already. No just parking at 10 o'clock on the street. Everything should be on site.
Well, what if there's no parking during the day as well?
If you wish to put that in, that's okay with me.
Okay. Good. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. I had an opportunity to drive in the neighborhood, and I live in a very similar kind of neighborhood with no curbs and gutters or sidewalks, right? And I noticed there were people that had parked like just on the street in that where the dead end is and so forth. I mean, so people are parking on the street. Does that not happen just with residents?
I don't think there's a problem with residents parking off the paved roadway.
Mhm.
It's just that an on-street parking overnight for rentals is the problem.
But I'm just saying that residents parking on the street overnight is not a problem.
Not that I know of.
So I'm just trying to understand the difference between a resident parking on the street overnight or a guest. Is there?
It's in code. There's a short-term
Mm.
restriction on renters parking on the street.
Mhm. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Any council comments on this side? Nope. All right, any staff responses? Oh yeah, we'll get to the public comment.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, I
Yeah.
have a question for the applicant that was brought up from the appellant. When would be the
Right.
right time
Yes.
to ask that?
I think next is rebuttals, correct? Or do you have a
I
response?
just want to make a couple
Yeah.
of comments just
Oh.
to address. So the short-term rental application process is voluntary. We don't, as staff, know if somebody is unless we have, a code enforcement or a complaint. So in this case, staff, when they received the application for a short-term rental, that was the first time we had ever heard of it. So it wasn't like they were being reactive for something. So, and he voluntarily applied. That's usually how we go through the process. As far as for the parking, I do have, because he did direct, Minjel and I have worked on this a little bit. Do you have a second just to briefly talk about just our observation on the parking and what's considered off-street?
Yeah, I want to
Versus what is in
learn
the
more
street.
about that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Angeline, Public Works Director. So this has been brought to my attention a while back, and the area that is paved slab adjacent to the home, that's public right of way. But from a Public Works perspective, it's no different than the unpaved area because cars can park in the unpaved area. So it makes, from our standpoint, it makes very little difference that it's parked on the slab area. In my opinion, it's actually probably a bit safer for it to be parked on a slab area as opposed to an unpaved area. I've not had any issues with them doing that to date that I know of, and certainly through code enforcement, nothing has been brought to our attention, so we'll wrap that.
Okay, thank you. Did you have anything else to add? Okay. And so now we will give Mr. Houston an opportunity if you have any rebuttals. Totally, it's optional, but now's your chance. Okay.
Just more of a broad statement, broad comment. It was brought to everybody's attention that this has been operating for quite some time, and I think it's justifiable why maybe somebody didn't come before the city council earlier. It's not to avoid TOT, but this is a flashpoint. And I think it's really important you guys have a good process in place. And daylighting these practices, I can assure you, there's at least 3 to 4 other Airbnbs that are operating unpermitted in my neighborhood. So it's important to affirm these things, to move forward. I think my request is reasonable. I appreciate and respect my neighbors, but it's been a long time coming.
Thank you.
So I have a question. So, Mr. Houston, what are your trash requirements? Because we all know, I mean, I had a bear come and get my garbage and took it up a tree, 30 feet in the tree. So, I mean, what are your requirements for trash?
So the trash is collected on Fridays. I try to gather it up after a guest, and I actually since we've had some issues, and I might dispute the notion of neighbors collecting some of the strewn trash after.
Oh, regardless.
Yeah,
I'm-
yeah.
I'm just-
But I gather up the trash and I bring it down to Folsom. We dispose of it there.
So, but when the renters are getting ready to end for the day, for example, do
Mhm.
you have your toter in the garage and then they put the trash in there and then you take the toter out? I mean, that would
No, the toter is out front,
out front.
but then I try to gather it up as soon as possible. The trash, from the toter and transport it down to Folsom.
Okay.
I don't leave it. We've had too many issues with bears up there.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, and that to me is a, you know, if I were a neighbor and my neighbor's trash was constantly, because sometimes my neighbor's garbage ends up at my house because the bears don't care. They just take it, you know. But to me, that would be something that would really need to be, you know, locked down. If your toter was in the garage and they put all their garbage in the toter in the garage until whenever you can take it, whenever it's
That's fair.
disposed of, then it doesn't, there's no potential for it to, you know, because
Understood.
if you're not there and, you know, they leave, then at least it would be somewhere that the bear isn't going to
That's
get.
fair.
So as for annoying,
Reasonable point.
Yep.
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Sterling, do you have any rebuttal?
Thank you. I only take issue with Mr. Houston's representation that the driveway can accommodate 3 cars. It is 25 feet wide, and city ordinance requires a minimum of 9 feet per car for a rental facility. So it would not accommodate 3 cars by code.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So any other staff feedback? No, okay. So now we'll open up to public comment. Yeah. go ahead.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Kelly Marino. I live at 397 Forest Hill Avenue. I'm at the corner of Greenfield and Forest Hill Avenue. My neighbor and myself are the team leads for our local Firewise community, Forest Hill Huntley Loop. And I am against the short-term rental without Mr. Houston seems like a very nice gentleman, but it's a slippery slope. And one comes on, then another one comes, and then another one comes, and we have a huge problem. We're in a very high fire district, so the danger is real. Not to mention the bears and the trash, but the fire is even if you're an hour away, a short-term rental person doesn't have the same awareness or responsibility as a neighbor who lives there constantly. It does make neighbors have to police the location. You know, as Sandy said, did you call? We really don't want to live next door to a business that we have to police or a party that goes out of control. This is not made up. This is happening with Airbnb all over South Lake Tahoe, North Lake Tahoe, Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Pacifica, having a terrible problem with this kind of issue. You know, I just don't think that it's healthy for our neighborhood and our neighborhood cohesiveness or fair, actually, and particularly dangerous. The parking, again, one location, maybe not such a big or unmanageable situation, but the minute there's one that is approved and then another that is approved, it is hard because Forest Hill used to be, there was no line down the middle. It was just a street. And now we do have a lot more parking on it on the side, especially on some of the curves. And you have to go into the middle of the road and more cars will be more impactful. So I'm not for it. I'm against it. And there were the rest of my neighbors who were sick tonight that couldn't come. So just representing our side of the piece over there, Huntley and Forest Hill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another public comment?
I'm Chuck Heiselman, 161 Greenfield Avenue here in Auburn for the last 25 years. I hope you all received my letter as of last Thursday. Just a couple of points I wanted to bring up and mention. Regarding the trash, I am in fact the neighbor that went over and picked up trash multiple times. It's been a couple of years since that happened, but I finally got to the point where I wouldn't do it anymore. We're all affected by the bears. No matter how much you try, somebody's going to get hung up with the bears. I have before, but for it to be repeated frequently enough that it's a problem and left in the roadway. And I can tell you, even at this point, trash from, and it's very small, this is being really picky, but trash from 2 and 3 months ago is still on my side of Greenfield Avenue and has not been picked up. Let's see. Oh, regarding the parking, and I trust you saw the pictures that were included in the letter. I would ask any one of you individually, rhetorically, do you want to see 6 cars parked across the street from your house on a weekend that makes backing out or getting in and out of your driveway difficult, not only because of the cars, but also because of the foot traffic? It makes it difficult to be as safe as we all need to be. And also the size of the trucks that were parked out there, which this isn't the first time those renters have been at that location. But lastly, Councilman Cavillo, you know, the city boundary runs along the back end of my property at 161 Greenfield. So I guess the first point is that all those people beyond the city limit on Greenfield Avenue were not notified because the ordinance designates 100-foot notification. I would encourage you to consider at some point expanding that. So this may be inclusive of the roadway in that case, or 500 feet or something. So there aren't people that are potentially impacted by a parking issue and fire suppression trying to get down that narrow road so that they have an opportunity to provide input as well. And the last item that I have is, and it was in the letter as well, is I'd like to see a full accounting of whatever it is in this particular case. The result is for charges, past TOT, penalties, fines, et cetera. It's in the letter, but I would encourage you to pursue that. And I would like to see it personally. That's all I have for you, unless you have any questions of me.
No, thank you very much. Do we have any other public comment? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing and open it for council comments and questions. Councilmember Mar, any questions or comments?
I have a question of Tia. So what is the consequence? Let's say there's a party and there's 20 cars there and they're out of compliance. What is the consequence?
It's a
And neighbors
thing,
call.
like for our noise ordinance, anything after hours, they would call the police department. For after hours, it's code enforcement, just as if anyone was breaking the noise ordinance law, anything like that.
What about breaking the short-term rental conditions?
Well, if it became an issue as far as for vehicles parked out on the street and then somebody called the police department, code enforcement would come to us and they first asked, do we have an approved short-term rental permit for that particular property? We let them know yes or no if we do. And then what happens is they have already signed those operational standards and conditions in their permit that if they continue to be a repeat offender on that we can take it back to Planning Commission, or we can do it at staff level and have that permit revoked.
Okay. Okay.
But we have to start the code enforcement side of that as well.
And then noise is taken care of.
Noises
separately
through our ordinance, yes.
Councilmember Amara, there's also a process for neighbors to complain to Airbnb about an Airbnb host who continually has these kind of problems, and they can actually yank the Airbnb designation from them.
So Airbnb can pull it.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? No.
Comments?
I have a question, but maybe for legal counsel, but I'm just wondering, there's been some concern with regards to potential increase in fire with a short-term rental. And I just wonder, are we able to place a condition that would be, for example, no smoking on the premises or something like that? Is that, from a legal perspective, would that be, I'm just wondering.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you may.
So, okay, good, as long as, all right. Sometimes you can't prohibit these things, so.
Yeah.
I have comments. I don't think I really have any more questions.
Do you want to?
You want to?
I have comments too.
Okay, we'll go questions first. Questions? Sorry.
I think this is probably Tia. What are the requirements around, parking for longer term rentals, not just short term, and also for homeowners? Do we have any maximum required parking and off-street parking, all that stuff?
Well,
for-
we do for like new single-family homes, any single-family home, it's 2 off-site spaces.
Okay, so they can have 2 that are on the street, but same with longer term rentals as well, or is that, okay, but if so it's just if they're in this short term space that we say no on-street parking.
Well, it's not that, well, we say no on-street parking, right? They have, so this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and the
Mhm.
rule is 2 occupants, 2 adults per room. So the assumption is 3 vehicles,
Okay,
right, of 2 adults. So he counted the garage.
so
as 2
maximum of people is
spaces.
6 people in the
Correct,
building.
correct. Adults.
Adults.
I think it's under 12 is not considered.
Okay.
I think there's the rule in there, and I don't have it right in front of me, so
Thanks
I'll
for-
have to look that up.
Yeah.
But is if there's daytime guest visitors coming,
Mm-hmm.
they can park, I think, off street on the street, but then the residents overnight have to be off street
Okay,
for the overnight parking.
okay. But we wouldn't have that for just a regular single family home that's owned by the occupant? And there's
No,
requirement.
when you build a home, it's required for our ordinance is 2 units, 2 parking spaces.
Okay. And then I was just curious because I haven't really ever looked into that particular piece before. And then for number of people, we do have that number of people requirement that if that is already in
It's
place.
in the
Okay.
ordinance, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Holmes, any questions or comments? Sorry, just questions.
Well, I'm planning to go take a look at that location and then make up my mind.
All right, back to comments. Do you have comments? Okay.
Yes, I do. I'm inclined, I mean, we have to follow the guidance here in that we either deny it or we approve it with conditions. So basically, I mean, I think a lot of what was said was that these individuals, some of them are just against short-term rentals, it sounds like. But we have to look at it from the perspective of we have the opportunity for short-term rentals. So I kind of take that off the table and I look at, well, is it is it hurting people's health and safety? That's the other condition we have to look at. And I certainly hear what people are saying, but I also can see that, there's ways to remedy it. And if there is an issue, there's consequences and there's ways that we can fix that issue. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, unfortunately, it looks like I just hate seeing neighborhoods pulled apart. I hate to see neighbors fighting. I hate to see neighbors not in agreement. I wish we didn't have to make this decision. I wish it could work out. Unfortunately, we are making this decision, but if I make this decision with my other council members, I hope that, the neighbors can get along and work together and see the positives and the negatives, work through the negatives. So my inclination is that we have a short-term rental. That's an opportunity that is available in this area. We may have to amend that someday, who knows? But right now we have that. And I'm inclined to approve the short-term rental with conditions. And I'd like to hear the other council here, if they are inclined to approve it, what their conditions would be. So that's my perspective at this point in time.
Yes, so thank you very much. I concur with my colleague. We do have a short-term rental ordinance. We've established that. And so we have to see whether or not, does this comply with that? It's a usage, it's just like with zoning. You may have something that's next door to you that, zoned differently or what have you, but it is an allowed use. And so any potential issues that could occur there, in my opinion, should be properly mitigated. Because I did have the opportunity to drive by, and it's a neighborhood similar to mine. I have neighbors that have people over, and, their cars are parked, and they're almost in the middle of the road where you can't even drive by, really. And so I understand that that can be frustrating. But, in this particular instance, there's compliance, and again, I would agree with some mitigations. I think that there should be parking mitigations so that you're limiting the number of vehicles, so that there's a two-car garage, Mr. Houston, and then 2 in the driveway. That would be a mitigation measure I would require, a modification. I would ask that the trash be in the garage and the toter, until which time you're able to retrieve it, so that it's there, and make that a condition for your renters. And I would also like to see, within your instructions or what have you, that there would be no smoking. I'm sure you probably don't allow smoking inside, but no smoking outside, and make sure it's clear that folks aren't smoking outside. I know people have a right to do that, but as I checked with our attorney, we can make that as a condition. It is a high fire severity zone. And, there are many things that people smoke in these days. And so I think that limiting that would be, would help with that regard too. There's a lot of trees in the area. We certainly promote the 0 to 5 foot landscaping. I would encourage you to work with the fire department if you can to make sure that your property is well protected as possible with regards to embers and things of that nature. But for mitigation, it would really be the parking, the no smoking, and then the trash toter being in the garage. So, and with that, I would be able to approve the project, approve the permit.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Riddell Harris, any comments?
I don't really have much to say that my fellow council members haven't said already. I understand the concern about and how this has been an issue in other places. We haven't had as many issues in Auburn at this point, as far as we haven't had a large turnout from people complaining about having way too many of these short-term rentals in our neighborhoods. I know they're spread out through, and I know there are case-by-case basis, and I think that those can be mitigated with some of the things that have already been said. And then also, if there are bad actors who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing and aren't able to keep parties from happening and other things that inconvenience neighbors, then definitely we should address those. But the city decided before I was on council that short-term rentals are allowed here, and that is part of a decision that's been made as a community. And so that we just need to make sure that those are in compliance and that we're able to mitigate any impacts on the communities around them as much as possible. Just like any other thing that is an allowable use, you may not like that you have an apartment complex nearby, so we try to work our best to mitigate the impacts of any kind of land use that's nearby a residential neighborhood. So I would also be inclined to approve this with those conditions in place.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Holmes, any comments?
I would like to know how many short-term rental permits we have approved in the city of Auburn. And have there been any other problems that was specifically addressed with this particular one?
Okay.
I don't have the exact number right to date through 2025, but I most certainly can get those for you. As far as for this particular one, having any code compliance cases, anything, we do not have any on record for this particular one. Short-term rental permits, it's kind of a 50-50 when they come through. The first part that staff has to do is we have to send it out to the 100-foot radius of the subject property. If we receive an objection at that time, we let the applicant know. If sometimes they want to just withdraw their application and decide that, you know what, they don't want to do a short-term rental permit, or they decide that, yes, they would like to go to planning commission. So like I said, it's a 50-50 chance. We never can really make that determination, but I most certainly can get you the number of what we have today issued that are approved.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one question, I think, for legal as well, or I don't know if I can ask Mr. Houston, but in addition to the no smoking, if there can be a condition regarding no fires during during the red flag events or during high fire risk season, and if that's enforceable.
Yeah, so in addition to the short-term rental regulations, which are in the ordinance for short-term rentals, they also have to comply with the rest of the municipal code. There's already a prohibition on open flames outside with very limited exceptions within the city, so that would continue
Great.
to apply. I do have some draft conditions based on the comments when you all are ready to hear them too.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think just making sure that that's communicated to the visitors that we have rules in place for fires. And on that note, I just have a couple other comments that I wanted to make in general regarding short-term rentals. And the value that I believe that they bring to our community. Not only do they provide direct revenue in the form of the TOT transient occupancy taxes, but that they also provide an incredible value for our local businesses. This creates additional revenue from sales tax and supports our businesses as visitors will likely dine, shop, and partake in other local activities during their stay. We currently lose out on significant revenue when visitors have limited options for overnight accommodations and retreat outside of city limits after an event. In addition to the standard weddings, performing arts and concerts, school functions, sports, and graduations, we have world-class trails and races out our back door. These events attract incredible athletes from around the world who also bring crews, families, and spectators to the area. I would love to see Auburn open its arms wide to welcome people and showcase our charm and hospitality. I encourage neighbors to consider welcoming folks who choose to visit Auburn and might love to learn about a favorite restaurant, business, or trail. We are a small city. We all know our neighbors, and this makes us uniquely situated to watch out for each other in a positive way and make these short-term rentals a window into this small slice of paradise that we are lucky enough to call home. So I am also inclined to approve this permit with the conditions. And do I have a motion, or how do we motion?
So we need to make the findings first, Mr. Attorney, correct?
Yeah, but the resolution includes the findings, the draft resolution from staff that are in there.
Okay, so then,
For the approval. If you would like to modify conditions, as it
Yes.
sounds like there's a consensus for that, I have some language that can be included in your motion for you all to consider.
okay, please.
Okay. The first one being guests shall not park vehicles on the street and shall only park vehicles off-street on the property's driveway or in the garage. The second one is trash shall be kept in the garage except as needed for collection by the city's franchise hauler. And the third one is guests shall not allow open flames or fire ignition sources outdoors.
I think
Yes.
for the first one, that doesn't limit them to street parking during the day? Is that
This
does.
is just completely for all guests at any
they're
time.
in the driveway all the time?
That's what the condition, as written, that's what it would require.
Otherwise it's tough.
And then the open flame was the smoking.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
instead of trying to get into the detail of all the different things you can smoke.
Okay, that makes.
Yes, but Mr. Houston could say no smoking. if you want.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what I would do is I would recommend adoption of the resolution as modified with the conditions that have been read into the record by our attorney.
I'll second that.
Roll call of council, Councilmember Amara.
Yes.
Dowden Calvillo.
Aye.
Holmes.
Aye.
Riddell Harris.
Aye.
And Mayor Davis.
Aye. Seeing that passed, do we need to make any other comments on that? Okay. Moving on to council business. Make sure I'm on the right page here. These items include discussion and or action by the city council. Tonight, we are receiving a presentation of the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual comprehensive financial report.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, Gretchen Hoskins, Finance Director. Before we jump into the presentation, I wanted to give a brief introduction of the process that got us here to this point. So this item, it's the second year of our annual presentation of the city's required comprehensive annual financial report, also known as the ACFR, which I will say instead of the long version. This latest ACFR covers fiscal year 24-25, and it serves to comply with regulatory agencies, informs our stakeholders such as the taxpayers of our fiscal health, and it contributes to the city's ability to borrow debt and attract investors. The outcome of the audit does not only produce the financial reports for the city, but it also provides clarity on where finance staff should prioritize their attention, and it informs the point-in-time fund balances for each of the city's funds that directly informs the budget process. Though we've been talking about having eliminated our general fund deficit since September, the completion of this report officially confirms that we have eliminated the deficit in the general fund as of June 30th, 2025. To produce the ACFR, an annual audit is performed by an external independent auditing firm. This was our second year with Eide Bailly. For us, this latest audit process began back in April 2025 and officially completed in December 2025. The effort is comprehensive and it is a major component of the finance department's responsibilities. So in the presentation to follow by the Eide Bailly team, you will notice comments that could be cause for concern, such as correction of 21 misstatements. Last year we had 6, so that number of 21 can be pretty startling. However, I would like to emphasize that we are exactly where we need to be as a city based on where we've come from. Some of the 21 misstatements are related to choices that were made back in fiscal year 22-23 that we continue to clean up. And in none of the audit findings was our income statement at issue, which is our revenue and expenses and the resulting fund balance. Our trial balance, however, where we maintain our asset and liability information, is the focus. The common themes of the 21 items, particularly the 12 that were related to fiscal year 24-25, was the handling of grants. We know that. We have a new policy to do better in that area. Also been catching up on new accounting regulations that have been put upon us without a lot of education, so we're catching up on that. There's been some changes of procedures and due to the loss of institutional knowledge. So with that, not everything is caught or observed during a given fiscal year. And then of course, human error that will always seem to occur. A good example, if I may, of one of the audit adjustments, if you give you an idea of why it's not a huge cause for concern, but just kind of a learning exercise, is we have a $600,000 audit adjustment. That's huge, and it needed to be fixed. What it was related to is we have a capital asset account called transport facilities. And when we went and purchased the grant-funded vans for transit, I capitalized the cost of that and chose transport facilities, thinking transport, it moves, facility, it moves the stuff. But unfortunately, that was the wrong capital account. It should have just been equipment, whereas transport facilities is just abbreviated transportation facilities like bus shelters and things that don't move. So it's little nuances like that where you don't have the institutional knowledge from when it was created that unfortunately caused some of the adjustments. So certainly not all adjustments were that simple, but that was kind of a case in point for several of them that we experienced this year. So even though we've had growing pains during fiscal year 24-25 as a finance team, we also established a great partnership with Eide Bailly in that they have been great at providing guidance, support, education, and patience for our team. I think we're stronger with them. They're very diligent in the work that they do. Former auditing process was not, I don't think, as robust. So we have a great path forward with being able to do better and clean up what still hasn't been caught. So with that, before I pass it on to the Eide Bailey team, do you have any questions for me? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, good evening. Ooh, that's really loud. Okay, so good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. First and foremost, I want to thank Gretchen and her team. They did a phenomenal job this past year, considering the limited resources. You know, we got through the audit in a timely fashion. When I first started with the city, you were adopting your audit in June, and then the next month we started in with our 24 audit, and we're able to get that issued. And it's a testament to Gretchen and her leadership that we were able to get the audit again issued on time, no later than December 31st. Also, a big thank you to my audit senior manager, Kyle Bartle, who was the point person and providing all that guidance to Gretchen and her team. So getting the audit process going for you. All right, so we have our presentation up here regarding our audit and some of the required communications we have to you. Overall, what we have provided so far is the audit of the annual comprehensive financial report, or otherwise known as the ACFR. We've also provided within our reports, one of our reports is what we call the GAGAS report, or the Yellow Book report, and that is a report on internal controls over financial reporting and compliance that the city has. We've also performed some agreed upon procedures on your appropriations limit, often referred to as the GAN limit. And we are currently finishing up what we call the single audit, which is the audit of the federal awards that you receive. So we select one or two programs based on specific criteria from the federal government in order to select that, in order to test it. And we test it against, the guidelines from the Office of Management and Budget. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but they were issued late this year. I believe that they were issued back in November, when we typically see an April issuance date for that guidance. So the single audit did get started a little bit later, but I think we're on track to be issued no later than March 31st of this year, which is the required guideline for that. So we began our audit back in, as Gretchen mentioned, back in April 17th. We communicated some of our considerations to you at that time via a letter to the Board of Governance. I believe we also met with one or two of you over the course of the audit to determine if there's anything that we should be aware of, any concerns. There was nothing that was brought up to us. So overall, our responsibility related to the audit is to form and express an opinion on your financial statements. Your financial statements are your responsibility. It's management is preparing the financial statements with your oversight and your guidance, your direction. Ultimately, those are your financial statements that we're auditing. We are performing our audit to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance. So we're not recalculating all the different estimates. We're sampling. We have various methodologies to utilize in order to make sure that the financial statements are relatively free of any material misstatement. Next slide. So when we went through the audit, we had two primary phases. The first phase was what we call the interim phase, and that's when we're evaluating internal controls. We look at various cycles such as the payroll cycle, the AP cycle, financial reporting cycle. And then the second phase is what we call the final phase. We're very creative with our names. And that's when we look at the financial transactions. We look at specific balances, and that's where we find all that's where we typically find our misstatements, is through there. So when we went through the audit, we did not find any internal control issues related to those different transaction cycles. And when we were performing our audit, Gretchen and her team, they posted all the results or all the audit adjustments that we had proposed. So therefore, we could issue what we call a clean opinion or unmodified opinion. And that's the highest level of assurance that we can provide on those financial statements. Basically, nothing came to our attention that would make us modify our opinion, because your financial statements are free and fairly stated. On the other side, when we talk about the internal controls, we did not find anything related to those different cycles, but there was a restatement, as well as the audit adjustments that we had noted, that because we have so many audit adjustments and that restatement, we're required to report out a material weakness. Gretchen has also, she's done her due diligence into rectifying that material misstatement. So I don't see that that's potentially not going to be a re-reported issue next year. Next slide. So we have all this stuff that we have to communicate to you, and I'll briefly go over it real quick. So ethics and independence, we've complied with all our ethical requirements. Significant accounting policies, the city did not change any of its accounting policies with the exception of the one that it was required to change, and that relates to compensated absences. So the city now has to recognize a portion of the sick leave that's going to be used, not necessarily paid out when somebody terminates, but that's going to be used in the future by the employees that they've already earned. Significant risks that were identified, management override of internal controls. So a lot of people have that question of what that means. We are required to identify that as a risk for all agencies. This is not specific to the city of Auburn. This is not specific to governments. This is specific to anybody who's getting an audit automatically has a significant risk of management override of internal controls. We perform additional procedures to make sure that there were no override of controls, and we did not identify any. Revenue recognition, again, all audit clients, that's not specific to the city of Auburn. In particular, we focused for the city on grants because, as Gretchen mentioned, they're tricky. So there's a bit of judgment that's involved, so we're required to do additional procedures on that because there could be more risk in posting those amounts. The next significant risk is significant estimates. As of last year, we're required to report out any significant estimates as a risk because we have to do additional procedures over that as well. And you have two significant estimates. One is pension, the pension liability and related amounts. And then the second one is OPEB or other post-employment benefits. That's your health insurance after you retire. Those amounts are subject to a lot of different assumptions and variations. There's an actuary, a specialist that values those assumptions, and we're required to do additional procedures over that. And then finally, the next significant risk relates to compensated absences. The first year that you implement any accounting pronouncement, it's always going to be risky. Why? Because you've never done it before. So we identify that always as a significant risk. There's no disagreements with management. We encountered no significant difficulties during the audit. Again, our sensitive estimates and disclosures, not only the significant, but they're sensitive. So when you read the footnotes to your ACFR, you'll see in the pension and OPEB footnotes, a 1% change in what we use as the discount rate or the healthcare cost trend rate can have a significant impact. So that's why we've got those significant risks. Corrected, uncorrected misstatements. As Gretchen mentioned, there were 21 audit adjustments that were identified through our audit procedures that were all corrected by management. And then circumstances that affect the form I'm required to report out that even though you have a clean opinion, we do have two emphasis of matter paragraphs within the report. One relates to the restatement. We're just bringing your attention to that matter in the financial statements. And the second item is related to the implementation of the new accounting pronouncement because that also incurred a restatement. So those are the main areas that we have to bring your attention to. Next slide. And that concludes it. So I'll open it up to any questions that you may have of me or of Gretchen. And
Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. I think no actions needed, just presentation.
Thank you to you and to Gretchen for all your hard work on this. Really.
Sorry, any public comment? Okay, thank you very much. All right, that brings us to the city manager reports. The city manager presents a report to the council providing updates and information on relevant matters.
Sorry, I got the scratchy allergy throat. So last week, council knows that we met on Monday of last week for our initial strategic planning session of the kind of like newest cycle, I guess. So that was a half-day meeting that we kind of used to bring alignment to what council is looking to do, and then making sure that staff is on the same page. So I think that was very well done. We're going to have the next one on March 2nd to kind of wrap up this whole thing, and then we'll be presenting the actual document to council sometime after that for adoption. So that will be coming up. Mayor Davis talked about the town hall tomorrow at 5:30. That'll be here at City Hall to just kind of hosted by the Economic Development Committee to talk about sales tax, what it is, how it gets collected, why it's important, and all that. We have the upcoming financial presentation to the City Council on February 23rd. That'll be the mid-year budget update. So I'll be looking forward to that. So far, things are looking pretty good. Some budget adjustments, but not a whole lot. So that's actually going to be looking forward to getting that done. Stuff seems to be on track, so that'll be nice. Firefighter of the Year for this past year was Buck Sims. So he was announced at the Hook and Ladder dinner. So congratulations to Buck. He's been with the city since 2016. He was our first ever certified drone pilot, which is an actual thing. And then also on the police side, where we've got appointments that council has heard about with Rainier Neary being promoted from sergeant to lieutenant. Christy Jewell has been promoted from administrative assistant to records and dispatch supervisor. And then our new officer, Kimberly Aranda, who started as a CSO, went to the academy, and then now she's an official police officer working for the city of Auburn. So good to see that going. And then lastly, just the usual, wanted to kind of acknowledge staff that's worked here for a significant amount of time. So Rainier Neary, who is our new lieutenant, has been here for 5 years. Kimberly Aranda has been here for 2 years total. Menjel Dean.
Wow.
Has been here for a total of 11 years. And then Tia Klump has been here for 3 years. Congratulations to Tia. And then Stephen Benham, who's in transit 7 years part-time, driving one of our buses. So congratulations to them. That's all I got. I can answer questions if you have questions.
Questions? Nope. All right, thank you very much. Future agenda items, discussion and identification of topics that require attention in upcoming meetings. This section allows council members to propose new ideas, unresolved issues, or projects that need further planning or discussion. Yep, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, this is not a particularly new idea, but I've mentioned it several times. Having the city apply for certified city council status. So certified local government, certified local government status.
Okay.
I just was gonna give just a quick update. I know that Madam Mayor, you had agreed, and I think the council was in agreement, that we would bring forth some principles for legislation that would guide us so that when we're requested from the league or another similar entity to send a letter of support, we could do that without having to come to the full council. And I just wanted to report, city manager and I have been collecting policies from other jurisdictions within the region, as well as from the league, because they had put together some language, and we'll be bringing something. He will be bringing, but I'm helping. So hopefully we can get that soon.
So thank you. Yep. Okay, thank you. Finally, we have 2 city council committee reports. The purpose of these reports is to provide council members with an opportunity to inform the city council and the public about projects and programs discussed during committee and commission meetings.
So I'll just report for this week. Today I was in Sacramento. I attended 3 separate meetings with Sacramento Area Council of Governments. Started the morning with the advocacy breakfast, talking about some legislation that we will be working with the other MPOs throughout the big MPOs with the state. And then I chaired the Policy and Innovation Committee meeting for SACOG. And we also went through our audit for SACOG as well with good marks, a clean audit, which is great news. I also was part of the Sacramento Valley Division board meeting today. We had a Zoom call, so I did that. I did SACOG Zoom call, and then we had, after that, a strategic planning committee meeting for SACOG as well, talking about some effective community engagement, which we do a lot of, and then some partnering that we've done with some community service districts, special districts, sorry, the Special Districts Association. Those meetings went well. And then tomorrow I will be at the state capitol all day with Pioneer Community Energy. I was elected, I don't know if I reported that out, to my 5th term as chair of Pioneer. So I will be at the Capitol with staff and our lobbyists to meet with, I think we have 10 meetings set up all day to talk about Pioneer. Also this week, let's see here. I have a speaking engagement, and then last week, I thought the strategic planning session went really well. So looking forward to our continuing that. So
Yes,
that's
thank
all
you
to
to
report.
thank you to staff for
Putting
the
that
strategic
together.
planning. That was awesome. Man.
On this.
I'll leave it on the microphone. 2 quick things. Our youth commission met last week, and it looks like our event is going to be on May 16th at School Park Preserve. We're going to be doing a concert, trying to hopefully have youth bands, garage bands, maybe other types of performers as well. So we're gonna try to figure out food and other things that's gonna hopefully raise money for the Humane Society. We're still working with them on the details. So they're very excited about that. And then the other piece is that there's an air pollution control board meeting this week, and I was selected for the chair of the air pollution control board for Placer County. That's it. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
My only report is the Economic Development Town Hall tomorrow, so don't miss out. Seeing no further comments, I will close the meeting. Thank you very much.